Welcome everyone to Horror in Color. My name's Jose.
I'm Ivan.
I'm Jocelyn.
Horror in Color is aiming to focus on the horror industry, but yeah, even just within horror, there's different areas too, like a film and themed entertainment and stuff like that.
What is your understanding of cultural appropriation?
I don't know if it's gonna be a quiz, but
I was asking you. Okay, they don't know what cultural appropriation is. No.
It's 4 a.m. Sorry, our brains are a little.
yeah, we were just gonna talk about the subject in horror. I wasn't gonna here to give people a lesson.
No, but they do need to know. It's important.
Let's say someone does a Japanese themed maze, like a Caucasian person does a Japanese themed maze. What do you think is the difference between appropriation and appreciation? Because the argument is largely that, we're appreciating the culture and we see the entertainment value in that.
With all things, I think it's kind of hard to say there's a line because everyone has different lines.
Yeah.
The people who get offended could be called sensitive, but the people who get told that they can't make what they want to make just because they want to, that's sensitivity also. It's always good to see different vantage points in horror, and it keeps it diverse, and it makes everything different from each other too.
I think they would still find something wrong with it. Like maybe it's not the set, maybe it's that the actors aren't of that culture.
Yeah,
That's true.
Maybe the way they're acting, they might feel like that is making fun of their culture. There's just so many levels to making a haunted attraction or a horror movie or whatever it is. But is that stifling their creativity if they're inspired by a culture?
Yeah, it's not their place to be doing that. If you appreciate the culture, then just appreciate the culture. If you want to participate and you want to learn about the culture, and that's fine. Now that using cultures is like the trendy thing in horror, I think now it's just time to break away from that.
It's exciting because you know that this is like a real thing happening in the world, is a real culture, a real place you want to visit.
And that makes it scarier because it's real life.
Yeah, you can recognize like the architecture, you can recognize like people in history and like Papa Legba's, you can recognize samurais, you can recognize geishas and all of that. So
Yeah.
if you are truly inspired by another culture, realize, one, your own privilege. You bring about a diverse team whose story it is to tell.
they'll be like, well, this is my own original character, but it's obviously
Yeah, because
A
they'll
certain
obviously want to
character.
make it their own. The intent of it could get lost to the audience, even if the creator meant well.
make up your own
I,
thing inspired by it, but maybe don't like call it that. There's so much you can do.
those stories belong to people, and just realize you don't have ownership over someone else's story. If we don't open up to bring more people into the creative process and put more people behind the scenes with different perspectives and from different classes and from different races and from different genders, then we're going to have a more limited worldview in our stories, and a lot of the things will look even more similar. So a lot of the horror movies, a lot of the scenes, the sets that we'll be walking through will continue to look the same unless we change the people behind it to be more reflective of a diverse real world that we all live in.
So you're saying that we should just work together more
Yeah.
and get to know the world.
Yeah, no, seriously. That's...
And create your own world.
I mean, there's a thing with realism that is a big genre.
But then what about the unknown? Because people
But
fear
people
the
do
unknown.
that too.
I feel like now every haunted event, it's so easy to spot it. I think even like the Egyptian concept, like I haven't really seen it be used, but that could be an example of like a culture that's being used.
Is that what makes it inappropriate? Isn't there's not an Egyptian person in the creative process?
I mean, yeah. Like I can't make an Egyptian maze because I don't. I mean, I can learn about it and stuff, but
It's not your culture.
yeah, I don't think that it's right. And even if I did tell the story, like why? Like why am I using that imagery?
What if you love and are very inspired by it and you've been studying it for years? Like, say I was to cosplay a character outside of being black. Like, is that wrong of me? I cosplayed Queen of the Damned, Akasha. Is that like supposed to be my realm?
Well, I don't know who that is, so that's the thing is that.
Okay. I'm glad we're on this topic. The majority of America is still white, and so a majority of the characters that we've seen are still white. The pool that we have to take from is so much smaller for minorities that I believe it only makes sense that
Those are the characters that you're seeing. Those are the ones that you're being inspired by.
yeah, I do not believe that a minority would ever be out of line for assimilating into mainstream culture. So that's any white character.
I find, like, throughout life, that has always been putting me in a weird position
Yeah.
where I don't really fit with certain areas, especially in the haunt community. I feel like there's not a lot of black people, like scare actors, normal actors, like in movies.
Yeah.
And so that's a really weird place to be. They kind of look at me like, what are you doing here?
But that's why we get casted in some of the things we get casted for. I mean, obviously one of our roles we were casted just because we had darker skin.
But I mean, we also wanted to go there.
And we wanted to go there.
I do believe it would be wrong for a Caucasian person to be a person of color.
Really?
Yes.
I hope that a lot more people are accepting of things and just being inspired by things regardless of color. There's just a thing, like if you're inspired truly, like by something, I don't think it should matter if you're black, white, Asian, whatever.
Okay, let's say a child wants to look like Tiana.
As long
I
as
don't think it's okay. Don't curl their hair trying to look
definitely
like,
not.
or like paint their skin, or I don't think
that's necessary.
Yeah.
Like if I was playing a white character, I wouldn't paint my skin for it. Unless it was actually the color white, or like, you know, because I painted myself green because the character was green, but that wasn't like the color.
Oh, wait, that was green.
I was Tafiti.
Don't make your child and don't make your adult grown self
You too. Don't be doing.
don't be stupid. Do not try to emulate what is naturally of a person from a different race.
me personally working in fashion, like I see it's there.
My school fashion show was Harajuku themed. It was.
Fashion is like deeply
It
appropriation.
was inappropriate, but I know I personally I created a piece that was inspired by Japanese culture. It had flowers, it had a bow kind of like a kimono would. It wasn't exactly a kimono, but like, was that wrong of me to do? I thought it was pretty. People liked it. It fit in the theme, but like not so in the theme. It was a dress, but
I think that would fall under appreciation. What do you think?
I think it's also appreciation, but it could be someone might see that bow and maybe they had a reasoning behind that. That culture put those bows there for a reason.
mm-hmm.
I don't know exactly what the reason is, but if they saw that and was like, she's using something that we as a culture were maybe, let's say they were made fun of, or they were like rejected because of those bows. But
Yeah.
now you're using it as fashion. I think that it could be considered appropriation and inappropriate, but because you appreciated it, I think at least because you created with that art, you should understand it.
Just like stay in your lane. It's not yours. Because
They're gonna say it to us. They're gonna say for us to stay in our lane and don't use their culture, the white culture.
we don't say anything from superiority. We're trying to understand just as much as we're trying to discuss.
Just open a discussion.
Yeah.
We have no answers.
Yeah, it is super important that people with privilege and people who have a louder voice and people who have higher prominence in society listen so that they can support and uplift.
And even within, not even just within the haunt industry, but even in film, appropriation still exists even in those areas. I mean, it exists everywhere.
Think about authenticity and think about the difference between appreciation and appropriation. You might not realize that you and someone who seems like they have completely different worldviews are saying the same thing and want the same thing.